What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about the third installment in the Ring series, and this is the American Ring series, starting with the Gore Verbinski remake of the film Ringu. As I said in a previous video, I want to watch all the sequels to the Japanese version, but there are so many sequels to that movie. So I thought it would be fun to start with the American sequels, and I love the original Ring. I thought the Ring 2 was pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. There's a ton of problems in that movie, but despite all the problems, it's still a really enjoyable, fun ride. And Rings, the third installment here, I had never seen this movie before. When it was released in 2017, I didn't go to the theater and watch it. I didn't even watch it when it got released on video because honestly, with the early reviews I read, it just didn't interest me all that much. And I hadn't seen the series in a long time, so I wasn't really driven to see it. And after rewatching the previous two films, I was like, you know what? It's finally time. I want to sit down and watch this movie and see what I think about it. So today I'm going to be talking about the 2017 film Rings. Rings is directed by Javier Gutiérrez. Julia becomes worried about her boyfriend Holt when he explores the dark urban legend of a mysterious videotape said to kill the watcher 7 days after viewing. She sacrifices herself to save her boyfriend, and in doing so makes a horrifying discovery. There is a movie within the movie that no one has ever seen before. So, I didn't know what to expect with this. I've never even seen a trailer to this movie, honestly. I just knew it was affiliated with The Ring, and I was excited to watch it. And this movie is horrible. It's just downright awful in every way. And it's unfortunate because the concept is there. There's some really interesting ideas that this movie explores, but unfortunately in the hands of this director, none of it comes off as interesting or new or exciting. It's just really a jumbled mess. So in Rings, we start off the film with an intro sequence with people on an airplane, and that was kind of cool to see something different. The person was on their 7th day, they were having a conversation. All the airplane TVs lit up with the footage from the videotape, which I thought was pretty cool. It's obviously a little cheesy, but it hooked me enough to want to be in there. But as soon as that scene happens, you cut to these new people, and it's just so jarring. And it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the beginning of the film, because then you jump to these people shopping for a VCR. One of them is Johnny Galecki, who becomes a character later on in the film. He's searching for VCRs, and he's like, oh, this is a relic or something. It's like really terrible dialogue. And then we cut to another group of people, which is going to be our lead character, Julia, played by Matilda Lutz, who I actually really like. She was in a film called Revenge that I loved a whole lot, and she was in a Netflix original movie called A Classic Horror Story that she did a really good job in, so I was excited to see her. And her boyfriend Holt, played by Alex Rowe, and the two of them, you know, they're kind of they're in this relationship at the beginning. It's relatively playful, and he's about to go off to college, and so the two of them have this conversation before he leaves, and then it jumps forward in time. They're having like a Skype conversation, and these guys come into the room and take him out of the room and say he's got something to do tonight, and they hang up the call. She figures out after a short period of time that he isn't responding to her text messages. She thinks that he's gone missing, so she goes to the college to find him. Well, she meets Johnny Galecki's character that we see at the beginning of the film. He's a college professor, and he's kind of weird about the whole situation when he confronts her about it. And she goes around the school, and she ends up finding this place where all of these people are investigating the Ring videotape. They have a constant loop of it going. Johnny Galecki's character seems to be the ringleader of all of it, where he finds people what they call tails, to where they copy the video and give it to someone else so they don't die. And she ends up meeting this girl who says that she can help her with finding her boyfriend. She's just trying to get her to see the tape. After their whole situation blows out of proportion, the boyfriend shows up again. You find out he's watched the videotape, and so that's when the plot description says that Julia watches the tape, and the entirety of the film is them trying to figure out how to stop the curse once and for all. And there's this whole thing with a video inside of a video that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And yeah, like I said, it's an interesting introduction into ideas. I really like that they're trying to take a risk with this. I feel like 2017 was enough into the social media craze that you could have dived into like social media a bit more rather than like email threads. If you would have taken the route of social media, it would have been a lot more interesting, which that's where my mind was through most of this movie, is if you made a Ring movie in this day and age, including TikTok or Instagram or just some form of social media, would be really fascinating, because you think about the culture we live in now, and kids would share that video all over the internet. People would be getting killed left and right. And I think in the hands of the right director, it could be really interesting. But in this, it doesn't dive enough into the whole like sharing element of it, or people figuring out about it and trying to keep it contained within an area to make it all that interesting. The performances in this movie are absolutely horrible. Even Matilda Lutz, who I said I really like, her dialogue delivery is so flat, it feels like she's just reading off a piece of paper. Even Johnny Galecki feels like he's just phoning it in. No one seems to really be interested in creating a very scary or intense or interesting film. They're all just kind of there. And it's an interesting thought, because this was the first Ring sequel since 2005. So you're thinking there's been a 12-year gap in these movies, and someone thought, hey, in the midst of all these other sequels coming out, why don't we do another Ring movie? And the thing about these types of films that always bugs me is that the remake of The Ring is fantastic. It's wonderful. I talked about it in an entire video. I really love it a lot. The Ring 2 is nowhere near as good, but it's interesting enough, and it's engaging enough, and it feels like there's some sort of artistry in it. Even if it doesn't always work, it's interesting enough to work in the landscape of what they were trying to accomplish. This movie just feels like the cheapest cash grab you could ever imagine, that it's a product of something that already exists. They did the bare minimum in the casting department and in the performance department. There are some really nice visuals in this. There's some really cool things that are interesting to look at, especially some of the updates to the video footage. I really liked that part of the movie. But aside from some interesting visuals, there's nothing else to this. Even the whole new backstory to Samara's character and some new information, it's not interesting enough to really keep you engaged and excited like the other two films. There's no ticking clock element in this movie. There's no real like looming threat that exists. Like, there's scary moments. But the thing that's impressive about the first two Ring films, less The Ring 2, more the first Ring, is there's always a looming threat. And that anxiety exists in you as the viewer through the entire runtime of the film. Where in this movie, it just feels like it just is there. Like, there's scary moments, there's a couple of jump scare sequences, but outside of that, there's nothing really to grab a hold on to, and that's really disappointing, because the whole idea of The Ring is really interesting, and the videotape, I really like it. And like I said, I think if they did a modern day movie incorporating social media, it would be really fascinating, and I think that it could do something really interesting if it was in the hands of the right director. But yeah, this movie is just absolutely awful. Even if you like the first two Rings, I would just skip over it. It's not even worth watching. You're not going to get anything out of it, and you're just going to wish that it was an entirely different movie. So have you seen Rings? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was absolutely terrible. There's virtually no redeeming qualities in it whatsoever, other than some nice visuals, and I probably would never revisit this again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.